right. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me today for this California Bar Essays workshop. I'm actually going to stop sharing for a second. My name is Maureen. I am the founder and creator of BarMD. We're a full service bar prep company. So anything you need for the bar, we've got you covered. I've written 5 books, so 3 of them which would apply to the California bar. One for essays, one for PTs, one for MBEs. They're all really good. We have courses for all of it. We have bundles of like everything you would need if you want like full bar prep, all of that stuff. And I have some really exciting new stuff that we're introducing through this bar also called Bar Essay Checkups that I'm super, super excited about, really designed to help everybody get that practice in and kind of simulate that exam experience, getting that like stress of taking the exam, kind of simulating that. So I'm going to talk about all this stuff, but just wanted to say hi and thank you all for joining me tonight. I'm really happy to be doing this. And today I'm going to really focus on how do you get more points? Like, how do you get more points from an essay? We're going to do this with a contracts essay that I love, talk about organizing, and I'm going to really get into fact use. And the reason that I am doing this is because I've been doing score reviews, chatting with people about their bar scores for the last week or so, a little over a week and a half now, and looking at essays. And the thing I'm constantly telling people to go from a 55 to a 60, 60 to a 65, etc., is to use all the facts and the fact pattern. So that is what I want to talk about today. That's what I want to talk about today. If anybody has gotten scores and you're like, God, if I'd had, 5 more points on these 3 essays, I would have passed. I know, I've seen it. I see it day in and day out. So this is the focus of this workshop. I also have a ton of free workshops coming up. If you are not familiar with or signed up for my free workshops, or if you don't know what I've got coming up, we have a sign-up list. Here, if you fill this out, we will always let you know what is coming up for the workshops. So sign up for that. I just put it in the chat. Sign up for our list to be notified of the free workshops or any other like special stuff we're going to be doing. I am really trying to push for doing low cost stuff to prep for the bar. That's one thing that's really important to me. I know bar prep is just expensive. So I'm trying to introduce a lot of stuff that's just basically covering the cost, but making it, making it so that you guys can really participate and engage. I'm really just covering the cost of doing things for some of this stuff. So sign up for the free workshops. I know tonight is focused on the essays, but just throwing it out there. Next Sunday, I'm doing a free workshop on MBEs in the morning. And then in the evening, I am doing a $10 Civ Pro MBE workshop. So if you want to check that out, we're going to go over 10 Civ Pro MBE questions. We're going to give tips and all of that stuff. So really excited for that. And even if you're in my other MBE class, this one is covering different questions. So still super beneficial. So I put the link. I put the link to that in the chat as well. So check that out. It's only $10. And it's next Sunday, and it will be recorded. Everything I do, I record, and we make it available online within 24 hours. So if you're worried because you can't make it live, don't worry about that. We've got you. All right. So today we are going to talk about essays. Give me one second. I'm going to talk today about how to organize California contracts essays. It's a huge problem. It was tricky for the February 2024 bar. If you've done that one, and if you haven't, you should look at it. It was tricky. It was tough. And it was mixed with remedies, which remedies is the second most tested subject on the Cal Bar essays. So you should be prepared for remedies no matter what. They've done it 4 times in a row before, and it has caught people by surprise. So don't let it surprise you. Don't let it surprise you. Talk about approaching Cal Bar essays. This is something I talk about in pretty much all of my essay workshops. So there's a bunch, by the way, on my website. So if you're not in the free workshops course for Cal Bar essays, you should be. I'll give you all the link to that right now, just to make sure that you are in it. I'll put the link there. And that is where this particular workshop will be posted tomorrow. And then we're going to talk about maximizing points by using every single fact in the fact pattern. So we're going to talk about doing that. I'm going to talk about how do you see like, well, when is there a new fact? People tell me all the time they've used every fact in the fact pattern, but often they might say a fact, but they didn't, they're like pushing 3 facts together. That's not really using every fact. You want to really explain the significance of every little fact. So I'm going to show you what I mean when I say every little fact. And I say little for a reason. It's because so much can be broken down into a unique fact. I'm going to get my iPad out for this too. All right. So first, this is one of the new things that I wanted to talk about. We're doing these sessions called bar essay checkups. It's actually a 5-hour workshop. For California, you guys will have an hour break in there too, but it's a 3-hour practice session. So in it, you're going to get, and I provide all the materials. So you're going to get 3 essays or 2 PTs, and you're going to show up. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Black Letter Law, just quick little blurbs about what you should be expecting, just to sort of jog your memory. Then you're going to go. You're going to have 3 hours, and you're going to go. You're going to do the work. And then you are going to eat, then you're going to take a break, and then you're going to come back. And in an hour, I'm going to go over the 3 essays or the 2 PTs. I'm not going to go into it. Like I have my full essays course, in that we really go through deeply. This is really designed for you to get the practice in and for me to talk about what issues you should have seen. Plus you will get answers to go along with the materials. So really, really good. They're $25 each. Or if you want, you can get all of them. And we do record these sessions, so you can watch them after the fact. But there it is if you want to get all of them, this bundle. So it's all of these dates. They're on Sundays. A couple of them will be a surprise. You won't know what you're getting as you get closer to the bar. So it's really just designed to like create that stressful scenario of when you're in the exam. It's heightened. There might be distractions. Somebody might be accidentally talking to their dog and think that they're muted, right? And they're not. Or somebody's like joining in and there's distractions. That's intentional. I really want to create that sort of environment. So for the first 5, I tell you what is being tested subject-wise, but you will not know what essay it is. I will post the materials like a day or 2 in advance so that you can print them out. And I encourage you to print them out, but not look at them. If you're nervous and you're like, I want to see what this is, like maybe you just look at it in advance just so you can maybe get a little bit of an idea, fine, so be it. But I encourage you to really treat it cold. You're getting a clue. You're getting a clue with it because you already know the subject. These are from 1 to 6 PST. And I do have them for UBE also. This is for California or UBE. So if you're taking the UBE, you can absolutely join this too. And I will provide either 6 MEEs or 2 PTs. Yeah, so it's good for anybody. So yeah, and these might go a little bit longer than 1 to 6 or 4 to 9. I honestly I want to actually provide the most value. So I'm not going to go as deep as I do in my essays course, because that is designed to really go deep, go into it. But this is really designed to be a good practice session, because one of the things that I see when I talk to people about their bar essays is, like, I always ask, how many essays did you do for practice? People don't do enough. So I want to, or they'll do it kind of open note. They won't do them in blocks to like really push their endurance, etc. So I wanted to really create that. And then right afterwards, when it's still fresh, I'm going to go through and tell you what issues you need to talk about, etc. And you guys can ask questions. So that I'm really, really excited about. And again, if you want to check that out, here is the link. That's for all of them. If you just want to try out like the first one, that's totally fine. I can get the link just for that as well. Give me 1 second and I will get that so you can test it out too. So here's the link for just the first session. And then my Mastering the Cal Bar Essays course. This class is really designed to like teach you how to analyze essays. I'm also introducing something new. I'm in the midst of recording sessions where, for those of you that have taken it before, this class, we really dig into every single subject. We talk about writing essays in that subject. How do you organize essays in that particular subject? And we walk you through 2 essays for this particular subject. So, and you get an archive of past California essays organized by topic. So within Civ Pro, you can look at an essay that does appeals. You can look at an essay that does PJ, S&J, venue. All of those things you can access. So you can make sure that you're practicing essays within every subject and within every topic within each subject. Plus we go through, we give you the analysis formulas. We talk about how do you get a 55, a 60, a 65. We really just go deeply into like how to write effective essays. So this is in depth. If you struggle with the essays, this is a really good class for you, and supplement it if you want to also get that practice in that group practice. So yeah, so that's our bar essays course. Kate Bolas is teaching it. She's excellent. She'll be teaching the bar essays course for the upcoming bar. All right, so process for writing a bar essay. This is a process for writing a bar essay. I want you to do this every single time, every single essay. So the first thing you do is you check the call of the question. And you're doing this because we want you to identify what subject you're in. You cannot always identify the subject. You can't always identify the subject. So if that's the case, that's okay. Start reading the fact pattern. And once you identify the subject, then you jot down your subject issue checklist. In the Cal Bar Essays course, we give you these. And if you're in the UBE, we give them to you for the UBE too. So write down your subject issue checklist. You should be able to jot this down in like 20 seconds. It should be very quick. Something just to like trigger your memory and make you think like, right, it's really writing down a list of everything that could come up in that subject, distill down to just a tiny little list, just distill down to a tiny little list. Let me just check one thing really quickly. Yeah. And that's something like you should be writing out your issue checklist for each subject almost every day, just so that you can, work on your memorization of it. And just on that note, you should be working on your memorization every day. When I took the bar, I heard over and over, oh, don't worry about memorizing. It comes together in the end. Don't worry about memorizing. You'll do that in the last 2 weeks. I do not believe that at all. I find it to be so incredibly stress-inducing. I don't advise it at all. So don't do that. Do a little bit of memorization every single day. After you jot down your issue checklist, then I want you to read through the fact pattern. Read through the fact pattern, mark it up, spot the issues, right? You know how to do this. This is what you've done over and over. So spot the issues. Then, and actually do this in your exam answer. If you're a handwriter, you're going to sketch it out just on scratch paper. But you're going to write your skeletal outline. Just write your major headings and your subheadings. That's it. So we're just setting up our answer, basically. Then I'm going to go through issue by issue that I've written out. I'm going to place the facts from the fact pattern under the relevant heading. I'm going to place the facts from the fact pattern under the relevant heading. I want to use as many possible facts as we possibly can. And this is so in the Sunday sessions, I'm not going to be walking you through every single step. That's what the essay workshop course is for. The Sunday sessions, you're going to be implementing these steps. You're going to be implementing them and then showing up, and I'm going to talk about what issues you should have addressed to get a passing answer. What issues you should have addressed, you'll get my answer, etc. But I'm not going to go through it slowly in the review like I do in the essays course. So those are really like practice sessions or like, essay checkups. Are you actually like following the steps? It's for you to identify what are you not doing? Where are there gaps in the law, etc. Yeah, those Sunday sessions are more like you guys are doing the work. And then, all right, I'm going to check it up. I'm going to run through it with you right after you've done it. And it's really simulating the bar experience. So then you put all the facts into your skeletal outline. Once you've done that, you run through, you check to make sure that you've used all the facts. And you look and say, okay, where do I have counter arguments? Where is there ambiguity? What are the bigger issues? How do I allocate my time? Triaging is figuring out your time management for that particular essay. Hugely important. I see so many people do a lot of work in the beginning of an essay and then run out of time at the end. It is incredibly common. The way to avoid that is in step 6, is triaging your answer. And then you write, and then you write. And steps 1 through 6 for California, this should take you 15 to 20 minutes to do. And I know that may sound scary that you're not just like immediately starting to type right away and going into it. But what you are doing is you're doing all of your thinking in steps 1 through 6 so that at 7, you've figured it out. And you're always like writing is thinking. So you're always doing some thinking as you're writing. But ideally, you're really thinking through the issues in steps 1 through 6. For UBE, it's 25% to 33%. So it's like up to 10 minutes, 7 to 10 minutes for the UBE. And the variance is that the variance for UBE is that you don't use every single fact. So that's the difference for those UBE. I know there's some UBE people here. I'm going to walk through doing this for an essay for a contracts essay tonight. So that's what I'm going to do. And I'm not going to like actually do the writing. We're going to walk through really steps 1 through 6, basically, for an essay. So first, I'm going to give you guys a subject issue checklist for contracts. These are all of the possible issues: applicable law, formation, terms, performance or breach, remedies, excuse for non-performance, and third-party issues. You guys take a minute and write that down. I'm going to pull up an essay. So one really, really key thing that I want everybody to know is that one thing that I really want everybody to know is this is a subject issue checklist. This is not necessarily, and generally isn't, how you actually organize a contracts essay. Contracts essays are unique because you really have to, like, they really drive the organization. They really drive the organization. Haroon, I got your message. Yes, send me an email and I'll send you a link. So contracts essays, you really organize by conduct, communication. And I also go through this in my essay book. I know a bunch of you here have my essay book, but in my essay book, there are templates for how to address any given issue given on the bar. As long as it's been tested like more than once, I include it. If an issue has only been ever tested once on the bar, I didn't include it because the likelihood of it coming up again is really slim. And I don't want you to spend a ton of time and energy on that. So that's the one caveat. But I do have my best essays book. It is available printed. You can order it. UBE people, my UBE version literally came out today. It's not available printed yet. It's digital, but it came out today. And I'm super excited that that's out. Let me just get this essay open that we're going to talk about. It's one of my favorite essays that I like to go over. Give me 1 second. All right, I'm going to drop this essay in the chat so you guys can pull it up. I just dropped it in the chat. You should be able to download it from there. And let me put it up on the screen. Also, everybody, I'm just having a slight tech issue. Give me 1 second. Okay, so first, step 1 is we're going to read the call to question. So call to question here. Does Betty have an enforceable contract for the transfer of the office building? Right, so the question is there an enforceable contract? Contracts essays generally fall into 2 categories, either formation or breach, or a mix of the 2. Let's see. Oh, that's a great question, Patrick. I'll get to that. So does Betty have an enforceable contract? So we know we're in contract formation, but what's your subject issue checklist for contract? Send it to me as a chat, as a DM in the chat. Do you remember, without looking at what you just wrote down, do you remember what the subject issue checklist is for contracts? And it's okay if you don't remember all of it. So my subject issue checklist, and the way I remember it is, and I have like a little drawing, is antelopes from Texas bring rainbows every time. So for me, it's antelopes from Texas bring rainbows every time. That's it. Right? So applicable law, formation, terms, breach, breach, remedies, excuse, and third-party issues. So that's our list. I just think of it as AFT, BRET. That's how I remember it, and I jot that down, and that triggers my memory. Oh, I like that. Love for dogs, treat every rover terrifically. Somebody else has a good mnemonic. So now let's go through and read through the facts. All right. Betty is a physician. Okay. One of her patients was an elderly man named Al. So here I'm thinking of, what is it when there's unequal bargaining power, undue influence? Elderly man named Al. What is that? What is that technically? Yeah, capacity. Thank you. Betty treated Al for Alzheimer's disease. That also, it goes to capacity. But since she believed he was destitute, that goes to consideration. She never charged him for her services. So that might be past consideration. She's going to want to charge him in the future. One day, Al said to Betty, the fact that he said it, right? That's statute of frauds. I want to pay you back for all you have done over the years, past consideration. If you will care for me for the rest of my life, I will give you my office building. So here, this is also offer. I will give you my office building. I'm frightened because I have no heirs, and you're the only one who cares for me. I need to know now that I can depend on you. Betty doubted that Al owned any office building. So she doubted, so she doesn't believe him, which goes to consideration, which I'll talk about in a minute. But said nothing in response, just completed her examination of Al and gave him some medication. So acceptance by silence and performance. 2 years passed. That's revocation due to lapse of time. Because if 2 years passed and she hasn't done anything, then is the offer still open? Probably not. Probably not. Especially because he said earlier, I need to know now that I can depend on you. Right? So the now means if 2 years have passed, then the offer is no longer open, right? So Al's health worsened. Betty continued to treat him. So here there is performance. Betty forgot about Al's statement regarding the office building. Again, that goes to consideration because consideration is a bargain for exchange, right? I'm doing this because you're giving me that or because you're paying me, right? That's the exchange, right? So if she forgot about his statement regarding the office building, she's doing this out of the goodness of her heart, like she had always done before, right? So there's not a bargain for exchange there. One day, Betty learned that Al was indeed the owner of the office building. This actually goes to Al's capacity. Betty immediately wrote a note to Al. So this is express acceptance. Stating, I accept your offer and promise to provide you with medical services for the rest of your life. Betty signed the note, put it into a stamped address envelope to Al, and placed the envelope outside her front door to be picked up by her mail carrier when he arrived to deliver the next day's mail. Mailbox roll. Al died in his sleep that night, so revocation. Due to death. The mail carrier picked up Betty's letter the following morning and it was delivered to Al's home a day later. Now, services rendered by Betty to Al over the last 2 years were worth several $1,000s. The office building is worth millions, so this goes to adequate of consideration. So definitely in contracts land, this is a very typical fact pattern for contracts, totally typical. So lots of issues. This is normally what your essays look like when you mark them up, right? Something like this. So step 1, we check the call of the question. Step 2, we jotted down our issue checklist. Step 3, read the fact pattern. That's what we just did. Step 4 is check your subject issue checklist and jot down all of your actual headings that you're going to use for this essay. So that's next. So let me put this up on, get this up on my big computer and let's get a blank Word doc to show you what I want you to do. Now, this is going to look a lot easier than doing it on your own. It should, because that's why I'm teaching this. So it does look very straightforward. It's a little bit tougher to do when, you don't know the essay like the back of your hand, like I do, obviously here. This is one of my favorite essays. Favorite, using that term loosely, because it's still the bar exam. Do we really have a favorite essay? Probably not. Okay, so I've got my notes, I've got my marked up thing here. And so this would be your exam, ExamSoft, Examplify, whatever screen is what's open here. So this is how I'm going to organize. So does Betty have an enforceable contract for the transfer of the office building? So always start with applicable law. Oops. And then formation. So with formation, I don't just always do offer and then acceptance and then consideration. I want to go communication by communication. So formation here, first I'm going to do, and so I usually combine the issue, like the legal issue heading and a fact. So, sorry, my computer is, there we go. Offer, Al's statement, you can do A too. Betty, and then acceptance. So I'm going to go through all these issues. I know what they are here, but I'm just going to go through them. So acceptance is possible by silence. Actually, I would do acceptance by silence, and this actually should be, I do my headings in a way that you don't have to do this, but I organize them to make it obvious that this is, to me, it's obvious that this is a sub issue. So major issue is bold, sub issue of formation is offer. So I underline it, it's just less emphasized. So it shows that it is subsumed by formation. Acceptance by silence. Betty said nothing in response. Acceptance by performance. B, who completed her exam of A. Okay. And then I'm going to deal with all of the formation issues here. So then the next thing is 2 years passed. That's revocation. Revocation, 2 years passed. And I like to actually be a little bit more specific, revocation by lapse of time. Okay. And then acceptance by performance. B, continue to treat A. Then express acceptance. B's note to A. And underneath that, we have mailbox rule. So I put all of the formation issues here. It's a ton of headings. That's fine. They don't even all, they do all technically have rules, but I'm just breaking it up. If you just did formation and you were just like offer, acceptance, consideration, it would be so confusing to write and confusing to read. So if you break up your contracts essays, especially formation ones, if you like break up, if you go conduct by conduct or like conduct communication, that way, especially like do this on MBEs to track things by like every conduct communication you have to say, is that an offer? Is this an acceptance? You have to really go through those things so that you can identify like when was a contract formed, if at all. So MBE stuff is just different, but you want to think about this in those terms too. So mailbox rule. Then you're going to do consideration. So consideration was their consideration. And then all of the exceptions to consideration too. So past consideration, and then also adequacy. I don't know what I just did there. So I'm going to talk about regular consideration first, and I'm going to talk about the past consideration issue and the adequacy of consideration issue. And then I'm going to talk about defenses to formation, which are all of the ones that we saw: undue influence, capacity of revocation by death. Okay. You all follow me so far? Oh, and statute of frauds. I think that's it. Does this make sense to everybody? So I just go through communication and conduct, and I want to think applicable law. I want to go through formation, then all of the potential formation issues in here. Deal with offer and acceptance first, because it's going back and forth and back and forth. Each section will be small, but it's so much easier for you to like stay straight in your head. Then consideration issues, deal with all of the consideration issues at once, and then deal with defenses to formation, right? So let's put in our facts. When I'm putting in facts, I go through it this way. I start with my answer. And also like, this is exactly like I'm typing into my answer screen. As I was doing this, I'm looking and I'm saying, okay, applicable law, do I talk about that? I know that this is a formation essay. When I'm typing these in, I'm looking, is there anything that I'm missing from my issue checklist? So are there any like terms issues? There's not really a terms issue. I know it's the building for the medical care. Was there a breach? They're not asking me about breach. It's asking me, is there an enforceable contract? So you always want to like jot down your issues and then check it against your issue checklist. Is there anything that you didn't think of? So, and it doesn't really do much here, but there are other essays where it will absolutely help you to see more issues. So like there's a July 2010 torts I always do that fact pattern when I want to teach you, like, why do you do an issue checklist? Because it will help you to see additional issues. Okay, so let's put in the facts. So applicable law, this is a contract for healthcare services. So it's going to be common law. And then I'm going to go through, I'm not typing my rules yet. I'm just putting in my facts. So Al said to Betty, I said to B, I want to pay you back for all you have done over the years. If you will care for me for the rest of my life, I will give you my office building. Okay, that's really it. That's really the offer. You don't even really need this first part because you're not going to analyze that. So I'm going to take that out. It's just, if you will do this, I will do that. Acceptance by silence. Betty said nothing in response. Okay, which that's not going to be an acceptance, because acceptance by silence is only when it would be reasonable to assume that it would be. And here, she's always taken care of him and not charged him. So she's still just, she doesn't think he owns an office building, and she's just continuing to do what she's always done. So, but she does perform. B completed her exam of A and gave him the medication. So what I'm doing right now is I'm looking back at the fact pattern, and I'm looking back at the fact pattern, and I'm filling in the facts under the relevant heading. Revocation by lapse. So 2 years, this is really just 2 years past. So B continued to treat A. Notice, I know there's little typos and stuff in here. I don't care. A bar essay is just an okay first draft. That's it. So B continued to treat A. Express acceptance. So B immediate. A stating. Oops. That's also, it just took me a minute fumbling to do the open quote. I often don't fumble around with doing a ton of super specific like formatting. So like quotes, I don't always use. And the pre-write is, this should take up to about a third of your time. So up to 20 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes. And I know that this can be tough to do in the real thing, which is why I'm doing these practice sessions, and you should do them. Do tons of essays under stressful time conditions. So B stating, I accept your offer and promise to provide you with medical services for the rest of your life. Okay, B, sign the note. Now put it in a stamped envelope addressed to A and placed the envelope outside her front door to be picked up by her mail carrier when he arrived. I also, like, I'm in this and I'm like, okay, well, is that enough for the mailbox rule? Generally, with the mailbox rule, the reason it works is because we have this rule is because you're relinquishing control. But he or she hasn't really relinquished control because she could just grab it. So I don't know if this really meets the mailbox rule, right? I mean, I do technically, but like if I were you, I wouldn't know. So I put a little asterisk there because I'm like, I think there's some ambiguity here. How many of you, when you're reading this, you're like, well, does it really satisfy the mailbox rule? I don't know. Anytime you catch yourself being like, is it this or is it that? Is it really, does it satisfy or not? All that means is that you need to do a counter argument there. Don't just sit there and hem and haw. That just tells you that's where you do a counter argument. A died in his sleep that night. Okay. Oh, and I have more facts. The mail carrier picked up B's letter the following morning, and it was delivered to A's home a day later. Does it matter that it was delivered a day later? No. If this was valid, this would be okay. So there's maybe a little bit of an argument there that it was delivered a day later. That doesn't matter. Okay, consideration. Now all of the consideration issues. So first, Betty believes Al was destitute. B believed A was destitute. B doubted A owned any office building. Okay, so she believes he's destitute and she doesn't think he actually owns an office building. Past consideration. Past consideration is B never charged A for her services. A said, I want to pay you back for all you have done over the years. Past consideration, adequacy of consideration. That's this at the bottom. The services rendered by B to A over the last, this must not have been a hospital in the US, over the last 2 years were several $1,000s. I would think that the medical care would be worth millions, is worth millions of dollars. Did you guys know I took my dog to the UK to get him neutered? I mean, I don't really tell people this. I don't know why I'm showing it now, but I took him to the UK because my quote in New York was like $6,500 and I got it done in the UK for like under $300. Crazy, right? Yeah, so medical care is wild, right? All right. Anyways, that tangent aside, undue influence. B is a physician. A is B's patient. Capacity. There's actually a lot of sneaky stuff in here. So A is elderly. A has Alzheimer's. But A knew that B was the only, that he had no heirs, that B was the, sorry, only one who cared for him, that he owned the office building, and that he had no heirs. So the fact that he does actually own that is significant. It shows his knowledge. So capacity, and then statute of frauds. A said to B. Okay, so I've gone through heading by heading and put in my facts, right? The next thing I want to do is I want to make sure that I have used every fact. So let me actually pull, I'm going to do it. I'm going to use this fact pattern and make sure that I have used every fact in the fact pattern. Now, this is the key. This is the key. I've put the facts in. I want to check and make sure that I have used every fact. So I'm going to show you every little fact. And I'm going to change the highlighter color. So Betty is a physician. Okay, I've used that fact. One of her patients, that's a new fact, was an elderly man named Al. This is a new fact that he's elderly and that it's her patient. Betty treated Al for Alzheimer's disease. That's a new fact. She believed he was destitute, so she never charged him. But those are two facts. She believed he's destitute goes to consideration. Her never charging him, that goes to potentially past consideration. One day Al said to Betty, that's a new fact, I want to pay you back for all you have done over the years, past consideration. If you will care for me for the rest of my life, I will give you my office building. That's the whole offer. Actually, no, I think we can leave that. So ways to see where there is a new fact. Ways to see where there is a new fact. It's ands, ors, periods, commas, stuff like that. Also, adjectives and adverbs are usually on their own a fact. Like here, if you see an adjective, right? He's an elderly man. That it's significant that he's elderly, right? She treats him for Alzheimer's. These commas here offset this fact. So look for follow along with the punctuation. That's really helpful. I'm frightened because I have no heirs. So, and then also the word and. So I'm highlighting every fact in a new color. and you are the only one who cares for me. It turns out, it sounds like, he's actually aware of these things. I need to know now that I can depend on you. So that's unique fact. I don't think that I use that. So I'm like, oh, wait, that's a new fact. 2 years passed, and he said, I need to know now. So as I'm going through, I'm making sure that I'm using every little fact. And if I haven't used a fact, I'm adding it in. Yeah, so that's why it seems like capacity is an issue, but it turns out that it's not. So yeah, Betty doubted that Al owned any office building. I'm gonna use that in consideration. So that's in there, but said nothing in response. So that's silence. And just completed her examination of Al and gave him some medication. There is an and there, but both of these are performance. So I'm going to keep those together. 2 years passed. Al's health worsened, and Betty continued to treat him. So she's treating him. She's doing what she's supposed to do. This is, again, there's an and there, but I'm like, okay, I'm thinking about it, but I'm deciding that these really go together. It's not really a unique fact that his health worsened and she continued to treat him. She's just performing. So that together is performance. Also, Betty forgot about Al's statement regarding the office building. That's a new unique fact. One day, Betty learned that Al was indeed the owner of the office building. Betty immediately wrote a note to Al. So as soon as she finds out, she immediately wrote a note to Al. So express acceptance that it was immediate. So, but it's a timely? No, it's not timely because the offer's already been revoked due to lapse of time. I accept your offer and promise to provide you with medical services for the rest of your life. Betty signed the note, put it into a stamped address envelope to Al, and placed the envelope outside her front door to be picked up by her mail carrier when he arrived to deliver the next day's mail. I have used all of these. It's signed, so that would go towards statute of frauds, but really Al needs to sign it. Put it into a stamped envelope addressed to Al. So that's one fact. That's another fact. These really all go towards mailbox rule, but there are separate facts to think about. So I want to think about, well, is it enough that she signed it? No. It has to be signed against signed by the party against whom enforcement is sought. So B's signature doesn't qualify. If this is also an office building, that's a transfer of property of real property. So again, place the envelopes outside her front door to be picked up by her mail carrier when it arrived to deliver the next day's mail. This is a unique fact. Al died in his sleep that night. The mail carrier picked up Betty's letter the following morning, and it was delivered to Al's home a day later. Doesn't matter that it was delivered. It's not delivery that controls, it's when it's dispatched, but you still have to have the power of acceptance. I do have a statute of frauds heading down here. Somebody asked about that. The services rendered were worth several thousand. The office building is worth millions. Again, this is not. All right. Not US healthcare, I think. So do you see all of the various facts in here? So this is why when I say, have you used every little fact? Double check when you do your triage, check that you have used every fact. Think through the issues. If you identify an additional fact, like I did, where I said, I'm frightened because I have no errors and you're the only, oh no, wait, there was one fact that I picked up. I need to know now that I can depend on you. I realized then that I hadn't used that fact. So I added it in. Now I've gone through, I'm done looking at the fact pattern. I don't need to look at it anymore. Oops. I'm just going to look at my answer here. I start at the top and I start writing. I'm like, applicable law. I'm going to type my rule. I'm going to take the fact that I wrote and turn it into analysis. So, and I just start issue by issue. So contracts for the sale of goods defined as tangible, movable things are governed by the UCC. All other contracts are governed by the common law. Here, this is a contract for a service, not because it is for healthcare services. Thus, contract is governed by common law. So the reason we type our facts in is because I'm going to then use the facts to write my analysis. Next issue. So I'm going to type in my rule. For a valid contract to be formed, there must be offer, acceptance, and consideration. And then I could go in deeper on the rules, but I don't really need to. I know what an offer is. Do I need to go in detail and define it? No. So, but I might define it here. So an offer exists when the offeror communicates to an identified offeree. You don't need to address if it's unilateral or bilateral. Somebody asked that in the Q&A. You don't need to do that. And Anita, if you don't mind typing in your question, I would appreciate it. It's just easier that way. Determined with certain and definite terms whereby the offeree understands that acceptance would form a contract, or something like that, right? I'm going to write in my rule, and then I'm going to take my facts. So basically all analysis sentences are essentially here. There is or is not buzzwords from the rule because facts. Oh, okay. Got it. Thank you. So I'm going to type in my rule. Then I'm going to take the facts that I have written in, and I'm going to turn it into analysis. Here, there was a communication by an offeror to an identified offeree because A said to B, because A asked B, or I'm going to say A made an offer to B. There are certain and definite terms because A said to B, if you would care for me for the rest of my life, I will give you my office building, which gives the performance needed by each side. That's fine. The offeree understands that acceptance would form a contract. And here, I didn't actually write a fact in for this, but I'm like, oh, well, because B doubted that he owed any office building. So she just continues to treat him anyways, but she does understand it because B did not think A owned the office building, but when she realized he did, she immediately tried to accept. And I'm not going to fix the typos. Thus, there was an offer. So one thing I want to point out here, in my conclusion, you always see a little bit of replication of the heading, right? Offer. And in the rule and in the analysis, you see repetition of the buzzwords. So these are the buzzwords here. There's 3 different ones. That's why I have 3 sentences. So communication to an identified offeree, certain indefinite terms. Let me do communication to an identified offeree. There's that one. Certain indefinite terms. And it's always like, here there are or are not buzzwords because facts, right? Here there was buzzwords because, and then what are the facts, or facts plus reasoning. And then last but not least, understands acceptance would form a contract. Offeree understands it would form a contract because. So do you guys see how you take what I did to form an essay? This helps you with time management. If you can remember to do it and stay calm, which takes practice doing it this way. But you will get so many more points. And I have seen so many people getting 55s and 60s. And if you follow this process, I promise you can finish in time and you can rack up those points. So that's what I wanted to show you today. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. You can reach me at hello@bar-md.com. Check out our essays course, check out my essay book. Hey, Humphrey, I've got to respond to your email. I have it open. If you need anything, please feel free to reach out. A couple of questions I got in the chat. So this is a really good question. Somebody asked, Is it better to raise all potential issues to get the points, even if they're only tangentially relevant? No. Or spend more time on the issues that are actually central? Both of these are valid approaches. I much prefer point B, spending more time on the issues. The reason is because if you take the first approach, raising all potential issues, that is, you really, really risk raising totally irrelevant stuff. And I'd never want you to do that. This essay is from, I think, 2015, 2011, July 2011. And thanks. You guys should definitely check out my essays course. I'm revamping it and adding so much to really talk about every subject. What are the issues that generally come up? What are issues regarding organization? Running through like frequently tested issues. I'm going to do so much. And so I'm recording some lectures, plus you get some live stuff if you're doing live, but you get some new essays, seeing how they're broken down, understanding them. So we're really like beefing up that class. I'm super excited about it. And then, yeah, check out the essay book. So yeah, and somebody asked in the chat, can I talk about the distinction between the products? Yeah, taking bar core versus the a la carte. Core really has like everything that you would need at a minimum to pass the bar. So it's a study schedule, it's outlines, you get the essay workshop and the PT workshop. You get a couple of extra lectures, one on analysis, one on structure and organization. Those are recorded. So core is really like, yeah, if you just want like self-study, just the basics, then core is what you need. And then you can add on. If you want my essay template book, you can add that on. If you want my PT book, you can add that on, etc. So core is really good. Something that's really important to me is making bar prep more accessible, trying to make it less expensive. So I really try to price everything at their minimum, which is why I don't really do discounting. So that's what core is. It's $1,000 for full bar prep. Then if you want tutoring, grading, that's all extra. You can add it on. Thanks. Somebody said the PT book is legit. Somebody asked, so that's kind of the difference between the various products. The PT course, there are 5 classes. In each class, we generally go through 2 PTs. Well, for classes one, we go through 1 PT. Class 2, we go through 2. Class 3, we go through 2 more. Class 4, we go through 2 or 3 where you guys do some practice. And class 5, and go through like 2 or 3. Subject issue checklists, I have them in the book. The ambiguity, you need, regarding ambiguity and fact patterns in essays, you need at least 1, ideally 2 counterarguments per essay. You don't need to do them all over the place. You just need 1 or 2 per essay. The essay course starts on the 28th. The essay course starts on, I think it's the Tuesday. I think it's the 28th of May. Yes, May 28th. We'll send out emails with all of this stuff too, with all the information, but definitely join that. I'm super excited. The course does come with a whole list of mnemonics. We talk about memorizing in that, etc. Core does cover subject matter review of the law through the outlines and through the syllabus, where we are assigning you mini attack outlines to create. The PT course starts on May 30th. PT course starts May 30th. Super excited for that one too. And I think that's all the questions. Thanks, everybody. Oh, the fact that you gave medication go to capacity. Oh, that's interesting, Nick. I think it could. I totally think it could. All right, everybody. Thanks so much. Hopefully we see you soon in the courses and the workshops and these bar essay checkups. You should definitely join for those. Get that practice in. And Haroon, make sure you send me that email too. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great rest of your evening and see you soon. Bye, everybody.